Welcome to 4.5 Men. This is our new podcast. I'm your host, Steven, along with Ryan, Brian, and Jerry. We're going to introduce ourselves since this is our first podcast ever, and I'm going to start with myself. My name is Steven. I'm from Illinois. I'm just your average dude. I really don't do anything special. I specialize in a lot of media and audio stuff for school and things like that, but other than that, the whole goal of this podcast is to bring to light social issues and to share our opinions and things like that. So without further ado, I'm going to let Brian introduce himself.
What's up, everybody? I'm Brian. No, I'm just like Franklin, probably your normal guy, average dude. Love whiskey, love guns, love talking shit. So let's fucking go.
All right, next we're going to introduce Jerry.
What's up, guys? My name is Jay. Pretty average guy myself. Big into sports, car salesman, pretty everyday stuff. I'm going to get into it right now. Ryan?
Alright, guys, what's up? I'm Ryan. I'd say I'm pretty average. I got a common degree about 3 years ago, and I'm finally using it to make a podcast.
All right, so today's subject is going to be a touchy one. A lot of people across the country disagree on this topic. But without further ado, we're going to talk about the coronavirus. I'll start with a little personal story. So not too long ago, we went down to Tennessee, which is considered one of the hot spots in the country. And people there were really not wearing masks. It was not mandated like it is in the state of Illinois, and people were very nonchalant about it, which was kind of very scary and surreal for me. So, how do you guys feel about that?
I was there for 4 days as well, down in Gatlinburg, and noticed the same thing. Did not see a single mask. Could that be it being a little bit more of like a conservative state? I mean, state by state, everyone has their own views. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to personal opinion and what. But another thing is people do flock to the opinions of others. But down there, for sure, it was very. They didn't seem too concerned with it.
Well, that's the scary part. I mean, none of this is federally mandated, so nobody's being held accountable for wearing masks or not. It seems like the only thing that's holding people accountable are fucking grocery stores and stuff like that. I mean, anywhere else, there's no federal laws or state laws that are requiring you to do that.
Right, I think Colorado just put in a law now that they have to wear masks when they're in store, like we have in Illinois.
Like a law punishable?
The city ordinance,
I don't know.
Or like a fine,
Yeah.
or like maybe a fine.
I can see it being fine, but
The problem is that with all this shit that's going on and how it spreads and all that, probably one of the main ways that we could actually protect ourselves is
Brian, let me cut you off for 1 sec. I do want to say that Brian is a CNA. He is a medical professional, so he does know what he is talking about.
I'm also going to school for nursing as well, so I'm not completely dumb to the subject. Unlike most of the people who feel like masks are unnecessary, when it's actually probably our most way to protect
Whether
ourselves.
it works or not, as far as like the mask, you're wearing a piece of fucking nylon or whatever the case may be on your face. Like you can do the minimal in regards to that. Like
Right.
not everyone's gonna change their lifestyle to a completely certain way.
What
Just
about
wear a
you
mask.
oppressing my rights, bro?
Oh,
Because you're making me wear fucking cloth on my face.
Yeah, okay, oppressing your rights. And when you're born, you're assigned a social security number. Whenever you buy a house, you have to register it. And to drive a car, you have to get a license. So is that oppression? Not really. You're just following the rules and just, what's normal in our society.
that actually brings me to another point. I feel like this has become such a political issue on the right and the left that, it's unbelievable. Because you got, even on social media, you got Twitter, Facebook, you got the conservatives saying, you can't make me wear a mask, it's a free country. You got the liberals saying, you need to wear a mask to help others. And it's just a complete shit show of each side just going together, just not wanting
Which
to do
is
it.
crazy because European countries are filling 80,000 basically attendance soccer stadiums. And we're here canceling sports left and right.
And we can't fill a 20,000 person stadium for hockey.
Oh, you can't even fill a high school stadium here.
Right?
They kicked it all because they were wearing masks, they were social distancing, they were abiding by the laws that their federal government actually put in place in order to protect their people. Unfortunately, we don't really have that much of a federal government that actually mandates or really even seems to care for that matter.
Give a shit.
Just cares about whether or not they're going to get elected or not.
Yeah, or at least have a plan, because I feel like each plan that is set up, it's on a week-to-week weekly basis, the info seems to change, the facts seem to change, the direction we're going seems to change.
Like
It
even
seems like a revolving door when it comes to structure.
exactly, even like 2 weeks ago, Trump was saying, I'm gonna have a plan by the second, and it's the second at 7:40. He hasn't said jack shit about it.
Well, you know what the thing is? We're all sitting here talking all that crap about, wearing masks and everybody should be doing it and things like that. But the kind of funny thing is, with all four of us sitting around this table right now, some of us do expose ourselves a little more than other people. Some of us take it a little more seriously than other people. I'm not saying that everybody, doesn't believe that it's not real just because they're not taking it as serious. But they might be looking at some of the harder facts, like, hey, it doesn't kill as much as we think it does, or it doesn't spread at a rate we think it does, etc. Which may be true or not. But for example, I'll just call you out right now, Jerry. We kind of see you all the time on Snapchat. You're kind of going out and you're playing bags, and you're a very social person, and that's nothing against you, and it's kind of hard to keep back, especially after being in the state of Illinois and being locked down for how long we were. Somebody like me and Brian, we're kind of those dudes that we kind of barricade ourselves at home. We wear masks everywhere. We try not to go out when we can, etc. So, shed some light on that, dude.
Okay, one thing, do I completely disregard people's health, people's feelings? No, not the case whatsoever. I work 55-hour weeks. I'm wearing a mask everywhere I go, as far as work goes. If I'm going to a store, same thing, wearing a mask. I'm taking precautions. Do I go and have a couple beers and throw some bags once a week with 10, 12 people that are there? Yeah, of course I do. But another thing is, we all expose, from what you see that I do, people are exposing themselves in different ways. Like today, you went to breakfast, and it's I go to a bar with 12 people, you go to a breakfast restaurant with 12. It's the same thing. It just doesn't, you might think he's being a little bit less responsible. But another thing at the end of the day is people are going to go about this in a way that best serves them and or their family. Like you having a kid, you work in healthcare, I always feel there's some sort of caveat to which way we all go. Do I think we should all take some precaution and wear a mask? Yeah.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Are you scared of it?
Am I personally scared of
Are
the
you
coronavirus?
scared of
Me as
the-
a person?
Yes.
No.
How? Why is that? Just explain why you're not scared of it.
I just feel as if I'm gonna roll with it. The mortality rate is pretty significantly low compared to a lot of common things that exist. I know people are always discussing older people being susceptible.
But let me interject right there. A lot of people make that claim, but coronaviruses aren't natural like your flu viruses.
Very true.
Coronaviruses aren't natural as messed up as it sounds as cancer is.
Huh?
You know what I'm saying? Cancer is almost I hate to say it, it's normalized almost in a sense.
That's true.
And the treatments are so far advanced and things like that it's sort of a different realm than this pop-up, I guess you could call it disease that's sort of going around the world. So, how can you even put that in the same boat is my question.
How I look at it, too, is you view it as something that you're not worried about, and you don't really... It feels like it's not that you don't take it seriously, but I feel like if more people were affected by it, they would take it even more serious.
It's privilege, isn't it?
Because, with me, I have a grandmother that lives at my dad's house. He has a workout stuff down there. I go there every single time. Now, am I going to try to expose my grandmother to that every single time I go? I'm going to try not to.
Yeah.
When I go there, I wear a mask. When I work out, stuff like that. But how I view it is that if this affected more people's families, they would take it a lot more serious. And I'm not
That's true.
saying you shouldn't take it less serious because it doesn't affect your family.
Maybe the reason why it hasn't affected many families, specifically where we were at, was because people took this shit seriously up here.
Yeah.
We're one of the few states that actually was taking this pretty seriously when it popped.
I almost feel like that kind of feeds into it, to be honest with you, because, if it's not spreading in your state and you're where's the virus at?
Then you're doing something right because it's obviously not spreading as much.
But I think that's triggering a counter psychological effect in people because they're not
Yes and no
seeing
on
it
that
in
point,
their
right?
state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes and no on that point. People think, people talking about, certain states fucking Montana, Colorado, having low mortality rates. Yeah, when each person lives a mile away, or the average distance between homes is that big.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be the case. When you live in a big, congested city, of course the rates are going to be higher.
Yeah.
How I look at it is whether or not it's necessary exposure or unnecessary exposure. Like, I was driving downtown Naperville just the other day, and there was a line outside of Empire, just like
That's pretty scary.
crazy. Yeah, it's a bar
With a rooftop and upstairs and like a little mini club.
I didn't see nobody wearing masks, no nothing. Literally, not even a day later, me and Mary drive down that same street. Guess what? Place is shut down. They must have had an outbreak. I don't know exactly for sure. I don't want to speculate. But when it goes back to like how you like to go out to bars, Jerry, it's like you say, oh, we expose ourselves going to the grocery store. Well, that's kind of a necessary exposure, right?
Well, are we putting him at risk though, Brian? Because
putting him at
in
risk?
the counties that me and you live in, which I'm not going to disclose for obvious reasons,
Yeah, of course.
I
mean,
we have the highest rates in the state. You know what I'm saying? We have the highest positivity rate in the state. Jerry, being from Chicago, is technically lower than us. So are we putting him at risk?
I feel like so long as we've been getting, wearing masks, going to the stores, and on top of that, I've been tested for coronavirus for my job 4 times already. So I already know I'm pretty good, and I actually have to go get tested again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is that I know I'm keeping safe, and I'm keeping myself safe, so that way I'm able to keep everyone that I care for safe as well.
That's like
I understand that. It's like, but I'm also not going to. It's like, at what point are you like, okay, I'm gonna live my life in a somewhat normal way? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna feel bad about going to get a couple beers and playing some bags when I'm working 55-hour weeks with a mask on. I come home every day, chill, go to the gym, mask every time. Those are things that I do, and it's part of my life and who I am. If I go get a few beers once a week, am I gonna feel shitty about it? No. Am I still understanding that there are people that are a lot more susceptible to that, and it could be an issue? Yeah. But it's like, at what point do we feel like this ends?
I mean, Jay, you're immunocompromised. You are in the same boat as me. Me and you have psoriasis and eczema.
Right.
So therefore, we're already at a disadvantage compared to everybody else.
And even for someone like my dad who has asthma, like, I'm gonna try my best not to pass that on to him, because, man, if he catches that, he very well could just be on a friggin' ventilator.
Especially when it's respiratory.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I just want to bring another thing to light is how people are saying, oh, wearing masks, it cuts your oxygen and all that other stuff. That's not necessarily the case. You could put a pulse oximeter on your finger. You could wear a mask, and it's definitely not going to dip below the normal 98%.
They've proved several times that's not going to affect your breathing at all.
Right, and for my dad, he has asthma, and he actually works in a hospital setting.
Yeah.
For him, he wears a mask, and he's fine. Like, I get it, some other people have asthma more than others, but the thing is like, if you have asthma to the point where you're not wearing a mask, I feel like there's a lot of different things that you could do to give yourself the best chance of not contracting the virus, whether it be having stuff delivered to your house, whether it be, having other people go out and get stuff for you. Because I guarantee someone will have a family member that if they know that person's immunocompromised, they go out and go get it for them, go get stuff. The only reason why I don't go out and get groceries for my dad is because he's so set on going out and getting his stuff on his own. Yeah. What's the point?
So let me throw a wrench into that point. We all kind of talk about masks and things like that, and I feel like we're all kind of on the same page with agreeing that they are necessary, at least to, I guess, a public extent. But what about the different types of masks? How do we know which ones work? How do we know which ones don't? Do we believe the CDC? Do we believe the WHO? Do we believe Trump? Do we believe what all these European countries are saying? Like, where do we look? Where do we get these answers? How do we decide what's best for us as a state, as an individual, as a country, as a county moving forward? How do we address that? How do we know what's right, what's wrong? I mean, there's so much information thrown out there all the freaking time.
A lot of it is counteracted and contradicting back and forth. It's
exactly.
We need to find a way in which, we are informed and going down the right path, because you don't want to start taking steps like step 1, 2, 3, and you're like, oh shit, those 3 steps were the incorrect steps. Then you have to go back down a different pathway. Like, I do not want to be getting down that path.
Absolutely, I agree with you 110%.
I have a personal story. So my sister, she used to work at a hospital. She was a surgery prep tech. Like she would get all the tools together, like the knives, all the cleaning
Mhm.
stuff together,
Mhm.
right? And she ended up quitting like 6 months ago or something along those lines. My mom, I'd say 2 months into the coronavirus, where did I go? I went to a friend with 4 people, and we were just sitting drinking. And she's like, I don't want you doing this more than once a week, because if I catch it or your dad catches it and we're out of work, that's going to be a problem, especially with grandma, etc. too, right?
Right.
2 weeks later, my sister doesn't have a job, and you know what she's telling my sister? Why don't you go back to the hospital and see if they could use your help? And I'm like, wait a minute. So you're talking about me going to my friends, compromising the household. We want Becky to go into a hospital with multiple exposures.
But listen, hospitals take very different precautions than you would at your friend's house. I mean, we all follow me and you, and I will share this, we follow a nurse on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. I know you know who I'm talking about, that travels the country as a COVID nurse, helping people out. She has not been affected one time. She hasn't shared anything. She's been, what's the word I'm looking for? She's been exposed
Yep.
to a bunch of COVID patients. She literally travels to help those people out.
Yep.
All of those precautions she's taking every single time she's going in, and she hasn't caught it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
that sort of unvalidates kind of what you're saying, unless you're taking the same precautions as Becky would be, or as she would be in the hospital setting. You get what I'm saying?
Or like how I said about my dad, who works in a hospital setting and hasn't contracted COVID and still hasn't passed it on. And these hospitals, they understand all these precautions. Like, most of the times that it's spread out in public. It's not spread in hospitals as much. Like,
What do you mean, though? Because you're saying in public compared to hospitals.
in public, such as bars.
Because
Or
hospitals protect you, and what they were doing when COVID first started happening, they were putting zero pressure or negative pressure in the room. So essentially, that shit was not capable of spreading.
Okay.
Which is
That sounds
kind of crazy in a sense. And then, ironically, right when I got back from Tennessee, I went to Michigan. Literally, I think I was home for 19 hours before I traveled back to Michigan, because of my aunt was in the hospital. And when I went there, they were doing temperature checks and everything else at the door, etc. And they were just very anal about everything you were doing. You had to wear these protective suits and everything else. Like if you were going up there, and it's okay, is that borderline?
Right. I feel you on the temperature checks and all that. Honestly, I feel like that in order to make sure that this spread isn't gone, that's kind of something that needs to be brought about more and taken about more seriously. If you like to go to a bar and stuff like that, that's very well, you like going to a bar. But these companies could definitely fork over the $40, $50. Sometimes they're as low as $35 to get an infrared scanner, or infrared thermometer, to scan people's foreheads and check for temperatures. It's not really that expensive, just for that one piece to be able to try to benefit everybody else.
Now, Brian, I understand that it's cheap and it's cost effective and everything else that we've been saying, but what about the asymptomatic people? What about the people that you temperature check? So, for example, I'm going to put myself back in that hospital situation going to Michigan, right, with my aunt there in the ICU.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to say, let's just say I had COVID-19, okay? I had no idea. Let's just say that's the case. Let's just say I went and got tested, okay, or they scanned me at the door. They do whatever they did. They make me put on all these suits and whatever else. And what if I go up there, God forbid, the nurse walks out for 10 seconds, I take my mask off, I cough on my aunt, and now she has it. I had no idea I had it. How do we prevent that? Because that's the hardest part. That's what all of these claims from these professionals and these other people are doing. So that's why it's kind of hard, kind of stemming back to before, what we were talking about, who do we trust? Who do we know who to follow? You know what I'm saying? It's not...
Normally, in an ideal situation, we'd be trusting our government. And most of these countries that already have
we're going to get to government in a minute here.
I know. But most of these countries that already have gotten over the hump and they're already on the decline of cases and getting back to normal, they implemented trace and track.
I am going to interrupt the podcast here shortly. We do have our half man on the air, Eric Malero from all the way down in St. Petersburg, Florida. How are you doing, buddy?
What's up, man?
How's life treating you down there, man?
It's good. It's hot.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. So, dude, give us some insight on some COVID things down there. Like, what's going on? What are they making you do?
Crazy down
Because
there.
right now, Florida is probably one of the leaders of cases right now. So, what is your view and what is your experience being down there?
I mean, honestly, it's just normal day-to-day life. They're just making us wear masks all the time, and even at work and everything, everyone just always has to wear masks and just do their part.
But are they doing things, though, Eric, like, for example, like the state of Illinois or the state of Michigan was doing, where they're forcing, like, hard quarantines, hard lockdowns, certain amount of individuals in a public space?
How are the beaches right now? Like, are they full of people?
Well, I mean, personally, I haven't gone to any restaurants or anything, so I can't really talk about that.
Now, let me ask you this as a Floridian. Do you think the virus is real?
I mean, yeah.
Now let me ask you this, since I've already addressed this with everybody else.
Shout out to
Are
Baby.
you scared of the
Shout out to
virus?
Sydney.
Personally, no.
Let me ask you why you're not scared.
I mean, I really don't know. I'm just doing my part. I don't know. I'm just not scared of it.
Now, Eric, let me ask you: do you have any underlying health conditions? And like, if you don't want to say it, I get it. But like,
Nope.
nope.
Yeah, well, Eric probably has one of the best proactive immuno system defenses. I'm not going to get into that, but
That's another episode.
I'm pretty sure we all know what we're talking about.
Wait, hold up, though. I want to go back to when you got sick and you thought you did have the Rona and how you were freaking out about it. How can you go from that to now saying that you're not scared of it at all?
I'm not sure
I
he
have
was
to go
freaking
lucky.
out because he had it. I think he was more so freaking out because he couldn't go to work if he had it. He
Let
couldn't
him
travel
talk
if he
for
had
himself.
it. I know, but I'm just saying.
Let the man
Go ahead,
speak.
go ahead.
Let him answer.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're still there. Go ahead.
Oh. But no, yeah, exactly what you said. I was just scared that I wasn't going to be able to work because then what? Then what do you do at that point? You know?
Yeah, dude, and you got bills to pay. You got little versions of your own kids to take care of. Little
Yeah, I
animals
got my
and
2
stuff.
dogs, my 2 cats.
You got
my
a bunch of
8
pets.
tarantulas.
Hey, man, let me ask you a question now. I'm going to go down a little different path. Do you think there's any thing like thrown up too much about this, say like by the government or doctors? What do you say about that?
I really didn't hear you, to be honest.
You basically said, do you feel at times this is blown up, whether it be like politicians or through like doctors? Like, do you think it's overshot at any point?
I mean, kind of. I mean, I don't know enough people personally that have been getting it. You know, like we just hear about numbers, and then supposedly,
Well-
there was fake testing that tests were coming back negative or positive.
Yeah, like fake
Right.
positives, false
Yeah,
positives.
there's a lot of places in the country that wasn't just Florida. There was a lot of
Yeah.
reports in California,
Yeah.
etc.
And I've sold multiple
That's a
cars.
lot of hearsay, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah,
of
of
hearsay.
course, everything is though, but I've sold multiple
Unfortunately-
cars in the last couple months to nurses, and a lot of them, nurses are telling me, I feel like this is being overshot. We have minimal cases or minimal people coming in. Like, we're pretty slow right now, and I feel like initially there's a huge rush, but part of that is people are scared. We're scared. Like, some people believe everything they hear from
Twitter,
media,
Facebook,
from media. Yeah,
everything.
that's very true. But
Yeah,
Which, if you're getting your information from Twitter
Of course,
or
Facebook.
from Facebook, come on now, y'all need to take that with a grain of
or
salt.
any
and
newscast
realize-
though.
But that goes back down to the same conversation we had earlier. Who the
Who
hell
trust?
do we
Yes.
know who to trust?
Right, I agree.
CDC,
Do we trust again,
WHO.
Fauci,
Yeah.
Trump, the CDC, WHO? Because wherever your political views are aligned, Democrats still believe in the WHO.
Yeah.
Republicans, majority, because of what Trump said
But didn't we
screw
just
them basically.
didn't we pull out the WHO though?
Yes, as a country,
because
we're-
Trump said they don't
Hold on,
like what it said.
exactly. And it's ironic because now he's saying it's patriotic to wear a mask.
When just a few months ago he was saying, don't do it. You had a conservative saying, you're sheep for doing it, and you're just following blindly.
If you're listening to politicians for
let me cut everybody off. Let me cut everybody off.
You should be listening to
I literally just got an update to my phone that Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach of the Philadelphia Eagles that dethroned Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, just tested positive for COVID-19.
Wow.
Okay? So we have all of these people. Okay, Eric, the Street Outlaws tested positive.
Oh, I know.
That's what I'm saying. So you have all of these people saying, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's not real, yada, yada, yada. But yet all of these celebrities and professional sports players and everybody else.
And the Marlins. The Marlins, they had...
But it's the celebrities that are bringing it up, and then it's bringing it to the media,
What do you mean by that?
He's basically saying it's like you have 100 regular people getting tested for it, but that doesn't mean shit.
Propaganda in a way, like promoting it. What would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe that it's aligned towards an agenda, then I could definitely see them doing that. But I don't think a professional athlete.
I'm gonna make it clear really quick. I'm like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist.
We all are. That's
We
not
all
a
are.
worry. That's not a worry. We all are.
Speculations.
Everything's conspiracy nowadays.
The thing is, though, is just because, how we see all these celebrities getting it and stuff like that, it brings more light to it, which is good. Well, not good, bad and good at the same time. It's bad because they actually contracted the virus, but it's good that they're actually shedding more light to it. I mean, it shouldn't be a political thing.
Yeah, at all.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing though. I'll be honest with you, Eric. I had a list at one point in my phone about all the people that I knew that had it, and I got all the way to 25 people. Granted, I haven't heard a single case since I've hit my 25th person, but I will share with you that one of them was my cousin-in-law, which I think we all know who we're talking about. And she's a social worker, okay? So we know that she's heavily exposed in those areas. She was taking all of the proper precautions, okay? So how do we divide that line then? Like, because a celebrity, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's fair to say in a sense.
There's one person.
But you know what, too? Celebrities, I feel like they're the ones that are kind of not caring either.
Well, I mean, they have all the money in the world. I mean, they probably figure we're all average guys, and we're all sitting here saying, yeah, if we catch it, we're not that scared. Like we don't think we're gonna die from it. Yeah, it would suck to fucking have, but we're confident that we're not gonna die from it. So I wonder if that's the same approach these celebrities are taking.
I am worried that I could possibly die from it on the off chance. I would be more worried that I would pass it on to somebody,
and that's the main concern. I agree.
That's my worst
I agree.
fear when it comes to this. Is passing that on to a loved one or someone that I care about, and then them end up passing from it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be probably my worst nightmare in this point in time.
Yeah, that's
where I
what,
sit.
just in case, for example, like traveling too. I mean, right now there's the whole quarantine order, anyways. That if I were,
But look, now, if we're gonna talk politics, though, Eric, I'm gonna say one thing, because my cousin is moving down to Florida in a couple of weeks. If I drive down to Florida, or if I fly down to Florida and fly back, there is no state law or federal law that can force me to quarantine legally. Okay, so if these people wanted to try and do that, I get that. That's oppressing my rights. Okay, making me wear a mask, I can't draw that line because I'm protecting other people. But in the same sentence, I'm just as much of an asshole then if I come back and don't quarantine myself. So again, where's the fine line?
So
you get what I'm saying?
That usually comes down to your employer, because one of my employers, because I'm also a bartender as well.
But we're not even talking about employers. We're just talking about state and federally mandated laws forcing you to quarantine.
Unfortunately, right now there hasn't been any federal laws or state laws.
Exactly,
And they actually enforce that.
the
And
problem.
now, my employer, if we were to go on vacation to any state that has an outbreak of COVID that is in the higher numbers and stuff like that, we are actually forced to quarantine 14 days before we're able to get back into work.
And again, that's totally like you sign agreements to work, right? So like if that's an employer's requirement, then you
Right.
have to abide by that if you expect yourself to work, right? But there is nothing that says I cannot live in the state of Illinois if I don't quarantine myself, or
Right.
there's nothing that says I'm going to get incarcerated if I don't quarantine myself.
Now,
Do you think there should be?
I mean,
our state government tried to extend the stay at home,
look, I'm not
and
saying
then he got sued by some guy over in Southern Illinois.
Constitutionally, yeah.
And he ended up, unfortunately, Pritzker ended up losing because this guy was saying it was infringing upon our rights,
Yeah.
and that court actually said that he couldn't
because
extend
you
it
can't
past
extend
30.
exactly.
Right. Now,
So, well, I mean, Pritzker basically laughed and said, "Okay, fine, I'll just re-extend it every 30 days then." So
but he
it's
couldn't-
the point. It was the point of finding loopholes and those people finding loopholes. That's fine, you know. But to go back and answer Jay's question, do I feel like people should be incarcerated or be fined if they don't quarantine? I don't think so. Eric, you're all the way down in Florida. You are in the hottest spot in the country right now. My daughter's birthday's next month, okay? And I understand if you know, whatever, for personal reasons, whatever, you can't make it. But due to COVID, like if you're taking all the precautions and you're being safe just as much as Illinoisans or whatever the hell you want to refer to us as, you are in the same boat as me. Like you are no different than me. If you wear masks to the store and you're sanitizing your hands and everything else, how are you different than me?
Well, I think because I have a high, like I'm my people a lot because of my job. You know, I work.
But
I work in a
Eric,
hospital, so I'm with people all the time.
No employers. We're not talking about employers. We're talking about strictly government regulations.
and sorry to go on a tangent right quick, but my actual vet that I take my dog to, they actually had an outbreak of COVID, which then led to, if we had to bring our dog in, it would have to be for emergency
So here's
services.
my point. Let's say I was a vet at that clinic.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's say I contracted COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I go visit Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and his state is hotter than mine, and I give him the coronavirus.
And then he passes it along to his.
Exactly. So again, that draws back to the same question. Why the hell are quarantines being mandated? You can get it in any single state you go to. It does not matter. Again, in the Oklahoma City street outlaws, like literally they are probably the most isolated, like popular group in the fucking planet. And they were still catching the virus. So again, why am I being... I understand wearing masks and everything else, keeping them safe. But why am I being restricted from going to a different state?
Because to be honest, that's our only way of really breaking down how many people contracted. Because if you let people just go out and do whatever the hell they want, then yeah, of course there's going to be more cases.
But that's what people are doing now, Brian.
And
People
there's
said,
more cases
"Fuck all
going
of
up
this,"
and
they're
up
doing
every
it.
single day.
And I'm on the
And
same.
that's the reason
I'm on
why.
the same page with you as that. But if I'm keeping myself safe with the mindset of keeping others safe, why can't I go to a different state? Especially if my state is the lowest hotspot in the country. There is not a state that lower than
Because
us.
the way I look at it is, can you trust out of your personal friend group?
Yes.
The
If
next
Jay was
person-
sick, or you were sick, or Ryan was sick during even this specific
That's
podcast,
not what I'm getting at, though. Can you trust anybody outside of your friend group, like some random off the street? Can you really
No.
trust that he's
No.
taking every single precaution?
no. But I'm
Properly-
taking my precautions.
But let's say you go to a bar, hypothetically speaking, Joe Schmo sneezes, coughs. Next thing you know, 20 minutes later, you go up to that same bar, put your hand down to grab your beer, and then, wipe your nose,
But
and you contract it. That's what I'm trying to say.
But that's what I'm trying to
But
tell you.
quarantines would be helped to prevent that. If people were mandated to stay home, that occurrence would not
I
happen.
agree with that. If
in
it's not
turn.
everyone, if it's only certain parameters and certain people, this shit's not going to help. Because it's going to be spread one way or another through different states, through travel, through friend groups. You might, like, for instance, me going to a bar, you might even have been more exposed to certain people that have had it than I have, and we have no fucking idea. It's just all
that's the scary
perception.
part.
That's the scary part, for sure. Eric, go ahead.
Hey, how was your guys' take on bars being open?
Personally, I feel like to be honest, these bars need to be limited to
Capacity,
mass. Because
patios.
come on, man.
Look,
if
look.
I drive down the street and I see every single table outside this place less than 6 feet apart,
People
and it's
think
packed with
outside-
people.
people think outside stops the
Come
virus.
on, man. If you sneeze outside and the breeze picks it up, man, it's gonna go. It's gonna go past that, dude.
Yeah,
Come
no,
on.
dude. I went to breakfast this morning with, with my kid and my family and everything else, and I felt completely safe just because of the fact that we sat inside. Everybody was wearing masks. There was hand sanitizer actively available. You couldn't walk around the place without wearing a mask. So if you got up from your seat, you had to put it right back on your face. And then on top of that, the place that I went to was actually taking extra precautions and keeping us more than 6 feet apart, which is why I felt comfortable going there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that keeping us more than 6 feet apart is 110% guaranteed to keep us.
But it does
safe.
help.
You see,
But it
restaurants
helps.
are different. Restaurants are kind of different in that aspect because bars, people are drinking, people are drunk, people have you have to have your mask off to drink a beer, you know.
Right.
Like,
And
for example, let's just say a guy wants to go talk to a girl. He puts his hand on her bottle or something, or her hand, and then she touches her face, and then there you go, you know.
Now, coming from me, I see both. I see what you're saying, because not only do I work as a CNA, but I also work in a bar setting as well.
That's interesting.
So I see both sides of the spectrum. Now the thing is that while I feel that
Well, Brian, does that make you scared to go to work then?
fuck yeah, dude, hell yeah. Can I really trust that this guy that I see
What
is
if that,
like
what if that
like
was me and my family?
slamming
though?
down
What if that was me
beers?
and my family though?
The problem is well, that's you and your family. Remember, I said outside of your friend group, how can you trust that person outside of your friend group is taking those necessary precautions? Because the problem is people go out to bars, they get blackout drunk, and they forget what they do. Now, I'm not saying everybody goes out to bars and gets blackout drunk. That's not the scenario. But I'm saying, hypothetically, Joe Schmo goes, gets drunk, blackout drunk, starts yelling, screaming, spitting all over the place. And the next thing you know, you're just there with your family, enjoying yourselves, having a good time because you guys haven't seen each other for a while. You wipe your hand across the same bar that Joe Schmo just was screaming at, and then you touch your face. You contract COVID and you pass it on to your family. Dude, it's
Okay, well,
it's a
let me ask you
lose-lose
this:
situation.
Are we assuming that Joe Schmo was asymptomatic? Or are we assuming that homeboy felt his symptoms?
Because
that's
asymptomatic.
That's two different
Because
arguments.
chances are, I think if people know that they have some of the symptoms, they at least have the common decency to not be going out and trying to infect
you would
other
fucking
people.
hope so.
I would hope so.
My thing is, how are you going to social distance when you're at a bar? You know, you're willingly
Right.
going out to a bar
You-
because you want to hang
right.
out with people.
You can't unless it's like an extremely low key bar, like something like OTR.
Initially open.
Yeah.
Like on the top of the bars, we have those, but what about nightclubs? You have like the apartment in Chicago, FGL in Chicago, in
There
Nashville.
you go. You have a Floridian saying that right now.
That they should not be open.
That they should not be open. So what does that say about the state of this country?
Because like they had in Nashville, Kid Rock's
Well,
honky
who
tonk
says-
by the fucking
but let
Walmart.
me retract back. Who says if I go to Florida that I'm going to be doing that stupid shit? Who says that I'm not just trying to go to visit my homeboy, my dog? Who says I'm not going to go
Straight from
there?
airport to his house.
Straight, not even. What if I drove
Yeah.
from my own car, my own germs, not exposing myself, being safe at gas stations on the way down, and then I get there and all I do is stay at this crib? Why do I deserve to be quarantined on the way home?
I have an interesting question.
Because just the fact that you're going to a state
I
that's
understand.
higher than any other state, dude. You just don't
Brian,
know.
any state,
Because, like,
all the
we're
49 states around us are
But
more than the state of Illinois.
chances are, Eric has to go get food, right? Eric has to go and get some type of food.
But you do
Or
that in
he
any
eats.
state.
But
In
listen,
any state,
consider that he's asymptomatic, and then you go down there and you see him, you could still possibly contract it because he's asymptomatic.
But if you go to the grocery store, you still could possibly contract it. Just
But it goes back
just
to
because there's a
necessary
higher
and
rate in a
unnecessary.
state doesn't mean you can't.
It
contract
goes
at the
back
grocery
to necessary exposure and unnecessary exposure.
But there can be
Going to bars and going to like other places that you do not need be that are not necessities.
Right.
It's different from having to go to the store to go get
That's
food,
a fantastic point.
to go get
But
stuff to actually survive.
I haven't seen Eric in months. I haven't seen Eric in months.
You can easily social distance.
Plus, at a grocery store, you're more likely to wear a mask. The mask has been proven to cut down on the transmission of the virus. Unlike a bar, which you're going to be drinking, so getting your mask down, you're going to be closer, and the virus is going to spill over your mouth more.
Exactly.
Like man.
Honestly, I'll feel more safe at a grocery store than a bar for sure.
Right.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Like, even when I go to the
That's why
store
I
now,
haven't gone out.
like, I'll go to the store now, I'll sneeze, I have my mask on, I still get, like, death looks from, like, Karens and shit out there. Like, I'll look at mom or the kid, give me the fucking death look, I'm like, Jesus Christ, let me be.
I have an interesting question right here. Imagine for the last 4 months, if unemployment was not a thing,
I would have been
how
fucked.
significant do
I
you think
would've-
the views would be changed?
I
A lot
would
of
have
people
been
will be
on the
fucked.
streets. I had all
A
of you
lot of
guys
people
know.
be
All of you guys know.
homeless.
I had a fantastic job with fantastic pay, with fantastic benefits, the whole 9 yards. Okay, I was doing I was just basically doing phenomenal work there. Okay.
Yeah.
My boss loved me. My coworkers loved me. The employees that I staffed underneath me even loved me. Okay.
Yeah.
I went out and found a job. Okay. We all know that I start my job this Monday. Okay, so we know that I'm not one of those bums or whatever the fuck you want to call them that was abusing the situation or whatever the case was, because I knew that was going to run out eventually.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
The point was that if this never happened, a good person, and I'm not saying every single person is good or is using the system in a good way, but a good person like myself, I would have been on the streets with my 11-month-old daughter and my girlfriend.
Or-
so how is that fair to somebody like me who has given up everything and literally in their life busted their ass? You guys know my life story. To get to that point and to
3
lose
months,
it all.
gone.
Exactly. So I don't even want to talk about the federal money and all that
Yeah.
shit, man. I really don't. I don't care about other people's opinions. That shit fucking worked. And if you really want to go there, guess what? When they gave out the stimulus checks, that came to us, right? And what did we use the stimulus checks for? We either put it back into the stores, or we paid our rent with it. And guess what?
That shit was gone
if we
quick.
paid our
Re-stimulated anyways.
if we paid our rent with
Even my
it,
tax return.
if we paid our rent with it, guess where that money went to? The bank that owns the rent.
Yeah.
And then guess where all of that stimulus came from? It's a circle.
It is a
The government literally lost no money
Correct.
because they knew we were going to put it right back in the economy.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about it. I seriously don't
I'm
want
just
to
saying,
talk about
would it
it.
have changed your views if that you didn't have that need on money and you were like, oh fuck, I don't come up with this money, I'm gonna be on the street with my girlfriend and my child.
No, it wouldn't have changed my views. But you know what? I would have got my ass to some type of job, whether it be Amazon or
Yeah.
something, and I would have put myself at risk,
Yeah.
knowing to put just to
You
know
had
that
to,
my family
yeah.
was okay.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as
But
that.
that's the point. You would have to do that. That would be a necessary exposure. That'd be something that you necessarily have to do
Facts.
to
That's
feed
very
your
true.
family.
Yes.
To make sure that your family has a roof over their head and it's not on the street.
My point is with that conversation was when that money loops back around and the government gets it right back in their fucking pockets, why are they not continuing to help citizens out?
That's the thing, is that other countries besides us, like Canada, they're giving $2,000 a month to every citizen on unemployment. Europe is doing the same shit.
And a lot of countries are they give away money.
Exactly. We only got
on a
one.
yearly basis.
We got
One of the few
one
countries
check.
that doesn't even
Yes.
do that.
And look, let me tell you
One
something.
check.
basic
do
income.
you guys know how the Federal Reserve works?
Yes.
The Federal Reserve, okay, is essentially dictates our economy. They are supposed to have a gold amount
Mm-hmm.
that backs up the virtual dollar amount that we have.
Yeah.
Which is freaking bullshit.
Some say it's gold that's in Fort Knox and all this
Yeah,
other
whatever.
shit.
It's bullshit, okay? Because guess what? The world is going to a dollarless society, a coinless society, and all these people saying, oh man, you know, I don't mess with people that don't take cash. How many fucking times were you using cash before
Right.
all of a sudden you were getting oppressed? I don't want to fucking hear it.
Yeah.
You lived your life through your debit card and your credit card. And now all of a sudden you're getting oppressed?
Even on fucking like snack machines, they have credit cards now. I can use my phone as an NFC
Right,
card.
you think Donald Trump and the feds give a fuck about the 17-year-old swiping his card to get a water bottle out of the vending machine?
Probably.
That's one thing though. People, you can have 99% of your purchases on a debit card.
Yeah.
And once you get told you can't use cash,
Then you want to do
then
it.
people get
It
triggered.
is literally
Yeah.
reverse psychology.
What's even crazier is that if you think about it too, how many people touch those
But
those
it's
pin
knowing.
tags
It's
when you put
knowing.
your debit
that's
card in?
very true.
Right.
No, unless like you're going to some place like I don't even know, Target actually does a pretty good job of wiping out the machines.
But it's
but
just
like,
knowing. It's just knowing you have the freedom. I think is what drives people
Yes.
fucking crazy, and the feeling that they're getting oppressed, which is
Personally,
just absolutely nuts to me.
yeah.
Until you have military or police at your door with a fucking gun to your face,
Not right.
you are not.
You're not
oppressed. You
Yeah,
have,
true.
you have half of these idiots running around the country without masks saying this shit isn't real. And yet they're being oppressed? No. If you
No.
were being oppressed, there would be fucking military on every single corner making sure you kept that shit on your
Like,
face.
I don't even want to hear that people saying that you have to wear a mask is being oppressed.
Exactly. It's a small piece of fabric that goes over your mouth. You're not having a breathing problem. You're just a schmuck.
You're literally exposing yourself and exposing other people
Exactly.
unnecessarily.
They say you get sick from your own mask. You're not going to get sick from your own germs.
So remember, like originally they said like it was like 2 weeks, the virus runs its course, and then boom, you're good.
Right.
I've heard a lot of scenarios where people are catching it again. But I
Exactly.
do feel like in the
See?
beginning, hold on, real quick, they should have done a month of strict fucking quarantine.
You
I
Italy
don't
did
have
that.
shit.
You know what that would've
I think
took
it should have been more than just a month.
Do you know what
like
that would have
2
took?
months.
A lot of resources.
That no, it would have taken a lot of resources. That would have took a federal leader to place a federal lockdown.
Who gave
You
a
know what
shit
the
about
fucking
his
problem
country?
was? The problem is that he wanted to give the power to the states, so all the Democratic governors who forced everybody to lock down when their economy struggled and fell, it makes the Republicans look good
We're still
because they
playing.
didn't close down their states, so money was still flowing.
You know where they did that? You know where they did an actual quarantine? Italy. Italy was on the track to have the absolute worst amount of
Italy
viruses
was
in the world.
twice as
Even
worse as we were.
Exactly.
their leader was saying, "Why are you guys going out and running around and everybody's becoming a triathlete all of a
They
sudden?"
had a
and
strict
he's
lockdown.
like, "Go home, stay home."
And now they're low. You don't hear anything about Italy anymore because they took it seriously. Their leaders took it seriously. The people took it seriously, and they got shit done. We have idiots in charge that aren't going to do shit. And
And the
the
problem
moment they
is-
say something, it's going to lead to a political shit
State
show.
to state
The problem is
basis
that
is the problem.
it became such a
Americans are
political.
stubborn.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the fact.
We're stubborn people.
It became such a political thing, which is fucked up.
And it
should
blinds
not-
the facts.
It blinds and it muddies the water,
Yep,
And, it just makes people believe whatever it is that
Mm-hmm.
their party says. Now, had it just been a health issue instead of a political issue,
But
We
this
fine.
is,
would be in a
Brian,
different
this is
situation.
where we stem back to that same exact conversation that we had earlier. It is an unnatural thing that nobody could have predicted because if somebody gets cancer, I hate to say it again, cancer is normalized, right?
Right.
So we
you
know how to
had-
treat
you had
it.
a family
We know
member
the flu.
He
that
just
suffered
died from cancer.
and I had a family member die from
Exactly.
I've had
Literally
several
within the last
cancer.
5
Yes.
months.
Yeah, for me, within the past 7 years,
Right.
less than that.
Yeah. We have a society where, cancer, like he said, as shitty as it sounds, is normalized. Like, we all know somebody who had passed away from
It's
cancer.
fucked up that,
No
like,
matter
people
how many
don't
people
care.
it kills.
And
Right.
it feels like people don't care unless it affects them.
Exactly. That's
If people-
exactly it.
If people had more sympathy for the over 100,000
Mhm.
people that have died from this, and over the 100,000 families, because you got to think that those people that died had families too.
If people gave
that affects their families too.
right, if people gave a care about everyone else as much as they care about their family when it hits,
All
we'd
right.
have a better society. It would be okay.
Let me throw this in here because this is going to be the hottest wrench that I've thrown into this conversation.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
And this is going to contradict almost essentially everything we all talked about.
Including yourself.
Okay?
We'll see.
To an extent.
We'll see.
Okay, so
We'll see.
let's rewind back to October, November 2019. Okay? So we knew for a fact that it was potentially, possibly not here yet in the United States. Okay? Or if it was very minimal compared to what it is now. Right? Okay? What about the fact that Wuhan, China, has, I think, anywhere between 10 to 12 million residents, which is 4 times greater than the city of Chicago, okay? They literally built 2 super hospitals in the span of a week because of how many people were contracting it and dying from it. And now all of a sudden, because they lost hundreds of thousands of people, they were mass burning bodies, unreported, because they were concerned about how the world would react to it, okay? Now all of a sudden it's a hoax?
Right.
China lost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people
Let me just put it
before
this
they
way.
even figured out what the fuck it was.
Let me just put it this way. If you're one of those people that think it's a hoax,
Right.
you need to get your head checked.
That's true.
And the
Because
sad thing
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is so real. It's probably as real as the air that you breathe
Exactly.
right now.
And the sad thing is that, especially with this day and age of social media, you have people going online saying it's a hoax. The fucking president himself went online and said it's a Democratic hoax. It's not.
Let me go back to, if you're getting your stuff from social media,
Exactly.
if you're getting all your facts from social media, you really need
Mm-hmm.
to
Get
please
away.
check yourself and get yourself
Yeah.
away from social media for a while.
I agree with that.
Because social media is just people pushing their own political
Right.
agendas.
It's
But
like half.
real quick though, but
Yeah.
Not even just political, but their own agendas and their own beliefs.
the fact. Okay.
So hold up.
Go ahead.
I'm going to throw this in because this might change what you're about to say.
Okay.
And it's not like a question, it's just a statement. At what point does somebody's mentality or arrogance come into play with affecting the outcome of this?
It's when it actually affects them themselves
Or their family.
or
It's-
their family. That's the only time where it's going to really
That,
make a
or if
difference.
it's federally mandated, I would say those were the 2 biggest things. But one
Right.
thing I'm going to say is, it's a pandemic. Obviously, it's across the fucking world.
Yeah.
But the effect that people think, like, at first,
Mhm.
people were so afraid.
Yeah.
People, the littlest fucking thing, like, oh shit, I got the rona, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
When the mortality rate is low, and the even contracting rate is low.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying people are affected by it. Right. I'm just saying that
But Jay,
people overthink.
is it low because of the restrictions and everything else and the hype? What if we weren't taking these precautions? Let me
Right.
tell you something.
If we
I
were
saw a
taking
post
these
today.
precautions,
I
we'd
saw
be
a post today that said we killed something like
MRSA.
no, dude. It was like something times the amount of the 9/11 victims that happened.
Yes. We
Okay.
have killed a stadium full of people every single day for the last how many months?
It's and you know, I understand that people are putting, you know, oh, he died in a motorcycle accident. He had COVID in his system, so that's a COVID. That,
Yeah, that's
you know,
weird. That's political.
That's-
That's a
that's-
little weird.
That's
Sure.
weird and that's
Yeah.
bullshit for sure,
Yeah.
right?
Because they
But-
get money from it. They're funded by those deaths, by corona deaths.
Well,
which is
especially because
stupid.
when politicians literally right before the
Well,
coronavirus
let me-
hit in the
let me-
United States pulled out of stocks
Okay.
and reinvested into
All right,
the
all
medical
right,
yes.
field.
right. But that's a whole different story from someone who, let's say, they contract pneumonia because they had COVID. Because most of the times when people contract COVID, they have all these other different things that end up popping up. Like a lot
Right.
of people you see on the news or
I think
whatever.
it's side things that happen, like
right,
other
or
things
side
that
things
affect
that
the health.
happen.
or that compresses the immune system and causes ABC.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like let's say you have, we'll go back to like cancer. Then you have COVID, and then you die.
Is it a COVID-related death or a cancer-related death?
It's
Look,
both.
Exactly,
let me tell
exactly.
you. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you right now. So I'm gonna share my experience. I just watched my father basically. I literally was on his side and watched him die.
Yeah.
I watched him stop breathing, the whole 9 yards. He had brain cancer. He was in hospice. We kind of expected it was coming. During the hospice tenure that he had, he ended up catching pneumonia, okay? And this was during around the time, like, you know, COVID was a serious thing. Like, it was in the United States, everything else. But we were unsure of really what it was. At the end of the day, the pneumonia sped up his death.
Mm-hmm.
So if he never would have caught pneumonia in that situation, would he have died right then and there, or would he have pushed on for a month or two more? So at that point, what do you label the cause of death? Is it pneumonia, or was it from the cancer?
It's both.
We knew it was terminal,
It's both.
Yeah.
but pneumonia was the physical thing that doused him. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't the cancer that did it in that moment.
Yeah.
It was the physical pneumonia.
And he was fighting it for years.
Years.
essentially, too.
Years.
About 2 years.
The fact that he had both, it makes it both. It's not just one or the other when it comes to these situations. It's both.
Yeah.
It's not just oh, he succumbed to pneumonia or oh, he succumbed to the cancer. He had both. He succumbed to both. So you can knock that up to pneumonia and you can knock that up to cancer.
Yeah.
It's fucked up as
I guess,
itself.
say he didn't have pneumonia. Say it was like the cancer that he died from, but caught the Rona and it spiraled his immune system. I understand that in both senses. Like, in that case, it is both. Like, the cancer is what's killing him, but the
cancer is
The
what
corona-
got his immune
Literal
system
death.
to the point,
Yeah.
right? But it wasn't the actual cancer that did it in the exact moment,
Yeah.
and that's my hang-up. All right, folks. I just want to say thank you to Eric for coming on the air today, for being our half man all the way down from Florida. Eric, say goodbye to the audience for us. Here, hold up. Let me. Oh wait, I messed it up. Eric said goodbye though. There we go. We got it that time. But thanks, guys, for anybody who views and listens to this show. We sat here. We had a heated debate. We hope to brought a lot of social issues and things like that to light, and we hope to kind of be difference makers with talking about these things and talking about how we feel and things
And
like
please
that.
keep your family safe. Wear a mask.
Just
Even if you don't want to, just
be safe.
Just be safe.
And trust me, we're not here to push agenda or anything like that.
gray area.
Obviously, all
Yeah.
four of
we
us or five
understand
of
it's
us.
a gray area.
Don't be ignorant. Go out with a care about somebody. Imagine like they're your family. Just
Right.
give a shit.
Think about it as the standpoint of you possibly could
Think about it
contract
like
it and
it's
pass it
not
on to
red or
someone else that
blue.
you love.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
It's purple. It's all of us.
I think do the best for your situation, but always have other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to 2.5 Men. We hope to see you guys subscribe and listen more. So,
4.5.
I'm sorry.
4.5 minutes.
First,
I just want to say something. CBS, please don't sue us.
4.5.
Yes, definitely 4.5 Men. It was totally an error. Holy God. Anyways, everybody stay safe. This
Peace
was your
out.
host, Steven, with Brian, Ryan, and Jerry, and our half man, Eric, all the way down from Florida. Y'all be safe and have a great night and weekend.
See you guys.
See
Be
ya.
safe.
Peace.
Peace.